Hello, and thank you again for tuning in to the Evil Brit. That's me, if you couldn't guess that by now. And I thought I'd do a little bit different today. Um, while I might load up a game or two today, I'm here mostly to chat, relax, see what's on, maybe review some news, and go over with anything that anybody else feels like commenting on. So if you're here for the first time, welcome. Please do feel free to drop a message, say hi. If you're watching on my YouTube channel, then welcome. Thank you for logging in and checking my videos. If you like what you see and you want to keep seeing my content, then please do feel free to leave a like and drop a comment. Let me know how I'm doing. Any feedback, even negative feedback, is good feedback. So I do appreciate you taking the time to do that for me. So, I am just having a look at my desktop at the moment, and we'll see what's going on today. So let's have a look here. Okay. It's been quite a hot one today in good old Blighty. Weather seems to be up and down a lot, especially over Europe over the last recent few days, weeks even. Hopefully, wherever you are, you're keeping cool and you're enjoying the sunshine. So, good news is I do have a new controller coming through. So purchased that on eBay this morning. So hopefully that should arrive in the post in the next couple of days. I know that stick drift, when you've been watching my gameplays, it's been annoying me. So anybody who's been watching this and seeing my camera inexplicably just start glancing up every now and again, I'm sure it's been irritating yourselves as well. So hopefully that'll probably be fixed very briefly. Quick word on what I've been doing recently. So I've been working out some new book ideas. I'm kind of like I'm a hopeful writer. I'm not a professional writer by any degree, but it's always been I wouldn't call it a dream, but an ambition of mine to actually crack on, write a book, a nice book, decent story, an interesting setting, things that hopefully, uh, like any artwork, it's all subjective and it's drawn inspiration from other artists, but hopefully something unique enough that'll grab people's interests. So I've got a couple of ideas floating around on another novel that I'm working on. So I just need to commit to spending some time to write on it and work on that project. Speaking of projects, I still have an unfinished army of Warhammer 40k. I'll show you an example of ones that I've been doing recently. So we've got one of these little dudes here. Don't know if that shows up very well on the camera. See if I can get that in focus there. Maybe if I hide my face, that focus. Not sure it will. But yeah, we've got some Warhammer 40k. Now these guys are they're Chaos Knights. So I've got a few of these guys still to paint. Most of the detailing has been done. It's mostly just the base work now that I want to work on. As you can see, I put some details there, some plants which I want to add to. I've got some materials that I want to add to that base, make it look a bit more lifelike, and then maybe finish off with some decals that I can kind of just coat on there. But most of the paintwork has been done on these armies. I've got another set of Necrons, which they're in the box, so I won't bother getting them out. But half of them have kind of been painted, with most of the base work done for them as well. I've got another half which were purchased secondhand, so pre-painted, different art style, obviously. So looking at trying to get those updated at some point in the near future to reflect the current art style. In fact, I can show you a short example of what I've done, which one of these obelisks that you get with the Necrons there. So you can see that. They come pre-printed with the detailing in there, and you just kind of like fill in the gaps with with whatever you feel like. So I went over with a it's kind of like a it's like an Egyptian bone shade, kind of like you imagine like the wraps that they're covered in. It's normally like a wash that you kind of like spread over, kind of like the bone colour that I've gone over. But as you can see, I went in with a fine brush and really watered down to try and get the capillary action going, so it's spread out and really does make that piece pop. And I used a technical paint, they call them, on the blue bits to make them look a bit more ethereal, magical, like, but with a bit of a like a techie kind of look. I mean, I love the default of the Necrons where they're mostly just metallic, like that dark gunmetal kind of color with the green energy. But I've always preferred the kind of like the based on the Egyptian kind of like theme, if you will. And I like that kind of like the bone shade, kind of like that bony kind of color. So adding bone to their architecture, and if I ever bring out the army again in the future, you'll see the kind of like most of the body itself is also like a bone style, with the energy mostly being like this blue kind of technicolor that I've used, this kind of like sapphire look, which I think really works, really adds well to kind of the whole Egyptian theme in general. Lapis lazuli is like semi-precious gem, which is used in a lot of painting as a kind of a pigmentation. I think that's where that's kind of like based on, from IRL, the real life ancient Egyptians, and what they used to have. So yeah, I've got a few ongoing projects, and that tends to be my biggest bane, is having a lot to do and then kind of burning myself out before I even get started and then not finishing it. So we'll see how they go. Um, I think it's important whenever you look at any kind of project or style that you do it at your pace. So when you're comfortable doing it, you don't want to force yourself to do things that should otherwise be fun. That's something one of my close friends has mentioned to me quite a few times. Is do something when you feel ready to do it. Don't turn it into a chore. 'Cause as soon as it turns into a chore, you kind of tune yourself out of doing it ever again, really, and you kind of convince yourself it's not worth doing. And then, as has been the problem with me in the past, is forcing myself to do things that I've otherwise not really wanted to do, and then I just stop entirely. So part of the reason why I like doing these streams so often, even though I know it's early days and I don't get a lot of viewers yet, but it's good practice. It's always good to get started, and then work your way up to a level of quality that you'd be proud, you'd be happy that people are tuning in and watching for. But also it's getting into the rhythm of things as well, and reminding yourself that you're here for fun. You're not here for a very long time either. So while you're here, you make the most of it. And as I said in one of my earlier videos, this has always been a project that's been something I've always wanted to start and never really bothered to kind of pick up and get going on. Mostly because there's a lot to it. It's as you hear from the intros, the music is one aspect which I've got no experience in whatsoever. So I've relied heavily on my partner there to do the music for me to start off with, and to hopefully teach me as well to do some music myself in the future, so I can kind of experiment a little bit, not just in my own personal themes from YouTube and my stream, but also just as a creative outlet. Again, I realised maybe probably a little bit later on in life than I would have hoped that there's actually a lot of creativity kind of stuck up in this noggin of mine, and it's good to have that outlet and do things that are a little bit more experimental, a little bit more expressive than otherwise just clocking in at a 9 to 5 and then grinding for the master, so to speak, to then get home and then be tired to do anything else except eat, watch TV, and go to bed. So it's also been a very big uplift to my mental health and my physical health as well. I've noticed I've been eating better since doing the stream and a lot of the other creative projects that I'm working on, and yeah, it seems to be a very positive movement in general. So hopefully we keep the momentum going and you continue to see these videos, or if not, I'm just another stranger on the internet screaming into the black void, so it's not going to make much of a difference to anybody else. But it feels good to do this, and it feels good to show little things off like that and go, hey, this is who I am. If you're interested, you get to see more of it. If you're not, there's plenty of other videos out there that you can tune in and watch. There's no problem there either. So yeah, it feels good to share, and this feels quite cathartic as well. It's very different to some of the other videos that I've done. I know at the moment I'm just talking to myself, but people will potentially watch this on YouTube, or maybe if I get a website going as well. There's other avenues. I do have a TikTok which I haven't uploaded on, except maybe one little cringe video of one of my cats. So I might start clipping some of these things and putting them on TikTok as well, and get some uh, foot traffic in. Yeah, we'll see that how that goes. Um, the main reason why I didn't want to play too many video games is because I've got the replacement controller coming soon, and I don't want to start recording any more content with a game where I'm going to be stick drifting and you're going to be watching that camera go up and down, up and down, up and down, because it's driving me mental. So, but having said that, there are plenty of other games that I can mouse and keyboard, which I was, as I've been talking, debating about doing. Baldur's Gate 3, I just created a new character on there last night. Potentially could play that. I don't think a lot of people are streaming that at the moment, so that might be a nice little relaxing evening together. Playing that. Frostpunk 2, another game that I highly recommend. It's a very unique story set in a kind of like a steampunky post-apocalyptic world where the world's frozen over basically, and the remnants of Great Britain have um, are basically surviving in the cold, frozen north, um, in this heated city, surrounded by what's called generators, kind of like keeping everything warm and keeping people alive. And it's a lot of resource management and people management. You're dealing with the remnants of civilization. You have to deal with difficult choices like who do you um, what do you do with the children, for instance? Do you send them out to work, or do you put them in school? Healthcare, is it kind of like a triage where you only save the people that you can save, or do you start amputations and just cutting people's limbs off just the sake of saving a few more lives, even though they'd be removed from the workforce and things like that? So it's a very cool game. It's socially, it challenges you on a kind of like a survival aspect of how tough should we be in order to just for the sake of survival. I think that's what the first game did really well. If you've played the first Frostpunk, you'll know it's even more brutal. It's set very shortly after the Great Freeze, so and it's you're dealing with a handful of survivors. You're trying to bring more survivors in, and as you say, you have those challenges with what you do with kids. Do they help out the workforce, but they put themselves at risk? But you find very quickly in that game you can never have enough hands working, especially near the end game. As the big freeze comes in. So a lot of socially challenging concepts to deal with in these kinds of games, which are the kind of games that I like. I like games that like to challenge people, and you get to make meaningful decisions on, if that makes sense. Another example of that is Mass Effect Andromeda. Mass Effect Andromeda and the Mass Effect series in general, where you have to make decisions about what you do with humanity, and your relationship with the other species, and your crew members as well. And of course, the decisions that you make can follow you across all three games, especially with the original trilogy. I don't know what they plan to do with the next Mass Effect. I'm looking out for news on that, and yeah, hopefully they come out with more. I'd imagine we'd hear more on in November this year, N7 Day. It's when they tend to release more snippets about what they're doing with the development of Mass Effect. So, but yeah, it kind of games like that really get me going. Games that challenge your idea of morality and how far does humanity go and how far can it go before it inevitably collapses. And I think that's a nice little segue to what I think of the current state of the world at the moment as well. Don't want to delve too much into the politics of it because, well, I'm sure a lot of people will subscribe to my idea of politics. I think politics is one of those things that is best left debated in Parliament and um, maybe not so much on an online platform, especially if you're not catering to news, which I certainly am not. I did think about doing some kind of like news coverage, but I thought, yeah, I don't want to be divisive. And if I was reporting, I wanted to be impartial, but the problem with impartiality is it's always hindered by a flicker of bias. You see it in the BBC all the time, where I do believe they with the charter, but also with the people that work there, they do believe in impartiality. But unfortunately, people are always affected by bias, regardless of the rules of impartiality that we set on ourselves. It's just human nature. We like what we like and we dislike what we don't. So it's impossible to kind of expect organisations, especially ones as large as the BBC, to remain fully impartial. But I do see in the news feeds a lot, especially what's happening in Gaza and Israel. Um, it's that humanitarian crisis that just seems to get worse and worse and worse. And I do feel for the people of Gaza. I hope that people over there can find a peaceful resolution. That I think that it should be the main priority of everyone involved, regardless of which way you fall on the debate of whether Israel are right or not. There is unnecessary suffering going on in the world, as there is always across every corner of the world. You can't escape suffering. It's part and parcel of living, but when it's unnecessary and it seems gratuitous and unwarranted in a lot of aspects, that's when we need to start taking a step back and reviewing the options and going, well, why are we actually doing this? What are our goals? What do we aim out of this? And is there a way that we can achieve those goals without causing the unnecessary suffering of thousands of people, millions even? It's not a small population of Palestinians. So either way you look at it, it's a shit show all around, and I just hope that things can end there as quickly and as peacefully as possible. And on that note as well, Ukraine's not looking very good. I don't see a lot of coverage now, especially with what's happening in Gaza. That seems to be taking most of the headlines, but Ukraine is still a war zone, and it's much closer to my doorstep than any other conflict has ever been in recent years. So, it does hit home a little bit further for me. And I know a lot of people who've come over from Ukraine, who've settled in Britain to escape the war, and I know a lot of people have gone over to Ukraine to aid in their struggle against the invasion from Russia. And again, similar thing all around. It's unnecessary suffering. It's, with the decisions of a few big men in big chairs, they think they can dictate to other people how they can live and who they should live under. It's wholly unwarranted, and I hope again that place gets settled and resolved as quickly as possible before any more people needlessly lose their lives over a conflict that never needed to start. It does show that the world has always been a bit of a unstable place, and I think that stems from our lack of any kind of like global vision. Unfortunately, again, and this falls a lot down to human nature, we're a very tribal people. We aren't accustomed, as long as we've been living in these large cities, that is a small blip in the evolutionary scale of humanity and how long we've been existing as a species. Our tendencies always fall back to small circles, small cycles of people, tribes roaming, not settling in one place for too long, and never knowing when your next meal will come. And it's difficult to kind of get out of that mentality. But I think it was an astronaut called Hadfield who said that once they escaped Earth's gravity and saw Earth as a whole for the first time, they realised they couldn't see any borders. They couldn't see these invisible lines that we drew on these maps to divide the land up. They saw one planet as a whole and realised that we are one people, we are one species, and maybe that's the kind of like the utopian optimist in me that says that I wish that everyone could have that view. If everyone could go up there right now and take a look at the world, I think the vast majority of people will come down with a hugely different perspective on not just humanity or the world, but life itself, and how precious and also how fragile it is. We are still locked on this tiny little blue marble in a sea of black, and we can't escape it, and we've got no other home that we can run to if anything happens to this earth. So we should, if we worry as much about future generations as our politicians say that they claim to be, we should be doing everything that we can to protect this planet and the people that live on it. I think it's as simple as that. If you really boil everything down to the simplest equation, the truth is that we are one species on one planet with very short lifespans, and we shouldn't be fighting. We shouldn't be trying to end each other. All life is precious. That is a saying that I've stolen from The Walking Dead, but I think I think it holds true. I think it should be a tragedy for one person to die without having lived their life, without having a chance to explore and learn and see as much as they could possibly see on this world. And if there was ever any message that I, as one meaningless, insignificant ant on this planet, could possibly say, it's that we should all learn that. We should all appreciate what we have and each other as much as we can, despite how big we are, despite how numerous we are, I should say. We should all respect and love each other as much as we can. And if you can't do that, just stay out of people's way and try not to cause a fuss. That's I think the biggest takeaway I hope that anybody gets out of watching this small random unscripted video on the internet from the faceless unknown YouTuber or Twitch streamer or whatever you want to call me. So onto that, from that summer note, maybe we stick on a game and we try and forget about the woes of this world and deal with some woes in virtual reality instead. How about that? So I think we play a little bit of Baldur's Gate 3. It's a game that I haven't played in a while, and there's been a few updates since it's came out, so be interested to see what's new, what's the same, and I haven't played this game all the way through either, so it'll be nice to see, because I've not actually reached Baldur's Gate, the city itself. I think the game's split into kind of like three main parts. You've got the kind of like the first part, you're in the wilderness, so to speak, and you're introduced to the world, and you've got the second part, which I think is in the Underdark. And then you've got the third part where you're in Baldur's Gate. So let's give this a spin and we'll see what happens. I'll switch this now to live. Leave it open for a sec while that's loading. There we go. Excuse me, sorry. I'm either coming down with something or it's just typical seasonal hay fever, allergies. I do apologise if it's a little bit grim. So we're still on the Nautiloid, but I've gone through the boring stuff, creating my character already, so there's nothing that you guys need to sit through and watch there, because I can take a while trying to build the perfect character. Just so you can see there, that's who I'm playing at the moment. He is a gnome wizard. I've stuck with the default name Tav because I think that's pretty suitable. So we'll just carry on.
I can make no sense. We have no time for stragglers.
Decent roll.
Warding runes. Feel them drawing energy from the console near to the pod.
It's a little bit uncharacteristic.
We need to go.
You might see, whilst I play, that I have uncharacteristically bad luck. So when it comes to random rolls like this, I don't tend to do very well.
The console appears dormant. The console hums to life.
There we go.
The pulsing glow and organic lines of the device make it seem more like a beating heart than a machine. Perhaps it will open the nearby pod. Suddenly, you feel a hideous squirming in your head. A parasite. Then discomfort fades, and another sensation washes over you. Connection. Authority. You feel the biomechanical brain of the console process your command and yield to it. A
Yes.
shiver runs across
Yield to me.
you. Feel sated.
I thought that damn thing was going to be my coffin. Thank you.
Your mind lurches into her thoughts. Her gratitude is mixed with wariness, because you have a gift with you.
You keep dangerous company.
Yes, but dangerous company is what you need in a fight.
Fair point. Looks like there's plenty of fighting ahead. Let me come with you. We can get off this ship and watch each other's backs along the way.
Alright then, let's get going. My name's Taff.
Shadowheart. One moment.
Alright, let's go.
Finally. Let us make for the helm. We've wasted enough time already.
She's right. Lead on.
Just gonna move this mic a little bit so I can get my hand in a better position. Okay. Already looted these.
Wish I had a bag of holding.
Take that.
Brain in a jar.
Faint images appear in your mind. A brain, a Githyanki warrior, and centuries of darkness.
Need to
Do we know where this key is, guys?
let's see what this does.
What was that? Well. Ooh, is that where the key is?
Open up.
Hey! Is there anything else in here?
How many hosts of these gay infected?
Nice.
This might unlock those controls fixed on the pole.
Right, let's not worry about anything else. Let's get out of here. Where are you? It's a bit slow. Might be my fault for picking a small-legged man. Let's go.
We're nearing the helm. Once inside, do as I say.
Who put you in charge? I'll trust my own judgment.
Cane yank.
Alright, let's not argue.
Connect the nerves of the transponder. We must escape. Now.
Do it. We will deal with the Geich after we escape.
This thing's falling fast. Got to right it.
Right, you deal with that. Fall back a little bit. What do you do with that? Oh, come on.
Well, so much for peace.
I've got disadvantage on that. Look at that.
Anything of use?
Gotta take that loot. Ow. I don't think you're going to be able to deal with that. So let's just run over here. It's your fireball. There we go. Should have a dash action, I'm assuming. There we go.
No time to waste.
What now? What path lies before me?
Right, well you can miss. That's fine. Carry on.
Where do I go from here?
Right, and you can dash. we got time.
Sometimes the only way out is through. Best be on my way.
Carry on.
Forward, Istik, before more dragons come.
All going well so far.
Onward. Take your
I will ascend.
There we go.
Worth examining.
Still on my feet. Here goes nothing.
The helm's
Easy.
transponder.
GG.
Find it in time.
Hey, we're alive.
As you wake, the tadpole squirms in your skull. Other than the infection, you're more or less intact. A miracle, given everything you've been through, but it'll all be for nothing if you don't find help soon. The tadpole is a death sentence, and the clock is ticking. You need a cure.
Okay. Find a cure. Map. Okay.
What's hiding here?
Dead fisherman. See if he's got any loot. Yes, he does. Oh, and there's our friend, Shadowheart. Are you still alive? Hello?
You're alive. I'm alive. How is this possible?
It doesn't matter. We just got lucky.
True. Seems like we're the lucky ones, judging by all the corpses strewn about. I remember the ship. I remember falling. Then nothing.
Now what?
First things first. We need supplies, shelter, and most of all, a healer. We might have escaped, but we still have these little monsters in our heads.
Indeed. We?
We need each other, and we both know what's at stake. Can't think of better company.
Alright, let's go.
One thing, just before we go. I wanted to thank you again for freeing me. It would have been all too easy for you to run right past my pod, but you didn't. I'll remember that. Lead the way.
No sweat. Alright, let's have a look. What's we got here?
Another step forward.
More gold. Take that. More dead fishermen.
Fresh water. There must be a settlement somewhere nearby.
Love you. There, I said it. And if I meant you meet me tomorrow, I'll say it again and again. Keep on saying it till we're old and grey. So let's do it. Let's go to Baldur's Gate. I know it's risky, but so staying here. Last few months have been hard. Always a little easier when you're there. Aww. Leave your boat and meet me at the hill overlooking the old bridge. Bring whatever you can carry. We'll make do without the rest. Don't be late. Love, Anna. That is sad, isn't it? Plenty of loot around here, though.
No traps, please.
I'm no thief, so I won't risk trying to open that.
More of those wretched things.
Ooh. $20. And a loot. Why not? I'm pretty sure I'm going to be encumbering myself soon. Check this area out. Right, let's have a look up here.
Better stay back. One strike could be lethal.
Sugar. Ha! Back a little bit more.
What should I do?
Hey! Got any others?
Ready.
I'll have to do.
Talk to me.
Oh, come on. Ooh, Jesus.
You fight well. Perhaps our survival isn't such a distant prospect.
Level up.
Something the matter? Take two.
Let me take some healing as well. Okay.
I've got a long road ahead.
Right. Let's level up. Choices are pending. I want to be a necromancer. And we got any necromancy spells? I think they come a little bit later, just from previous experience.